Joe McCall with Tom Kroll again. How are you,
Bam!
Tom?
Good morning. I'm doing great, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Guys, we're so excited about this little podcast because we're going to be talking about the fastest way to $100,000. And it's a lot easier than you think. Some guys kind of freak out about, man, how am I going to make my next? Well, first of all, Tom, would you agree if somebody's worrying about how to put food on their plate, they shouldn't be a coach?
Well, I think I'll tell you this. I think this is what I would say about that. I think it's a pendulum, right? I think that there are people out there who are working hard, who found a side hustle where they can keep their full-time job and they can make an extra $2,000 or $3,000 a month working 3 or 4 hours a week as a side hustle. And those people sometimes they downplay how phenomenal that is. And I'm here to tell you, right, that you can make a multi-million-dollar coaching, consulting, mentoring business agency on if you know how to create a biz op opportunity where you can make $2,000 to $3,000 a month
Yeah.
working part time. The problem that I think you and I always see is that there's a lot of things on the internet that are just not congruent. So there's people who aren't doing anything. This is what what's his name talks about in The Millionaire Next Door. They have a 10-gallon hat and no cattle. And the number one thing that I would say is be true and authentic to yourself. If you really, Joe and I are going to be showing right now how to get to 100K per month consistently. And if you're struggling to do that, go back and listen to some of the things that you're talking about. Are you not being congruent with reality? So yeah,
Well, let's
personal
actually make
experience
it
is everything.
even simpler, Tom. Let's get to
Yeah.
100K in a year. All right?
Oh, is that what we're talking about? Oh,
Yes.
that's easy. That's easy. 100K in a year. I thought we were going for 100K in a month. I wrote a whole bunch of
Well,
notes here. So
listen, we are going to talk about how to get to 100K in a month at our coach marketing workshop. There's my fancy graphics I just did a minute ago right there.
bam.
Coachmarketingworkshop.com, May 18th through 19th in Orlando, Florida. Tom and I are going to be doing another awesome workshop. We did one last year, and I did one by myself the year before, and I thought, I got to get Tom to do this. I remember, seriously, Tom, 2 years ago, I did it by myself. I was like,
Okay.
I miss Tom. I would go
That's
to bed
awesome.
at night thinking about you all night long, thinking, why can't Tom be with me at the next one? No, but
Well,
anyway,
I'm excited to do it with you. And the hotel we picked is 10 times more beautiful, and we're going to have a great adventure. And I can't wait. It's going to be
yeah.
awesome. So,
All right. So
bam.
we'll get at the coach marketing workshop we're doing live. We're keeping it small, but we will be talking about how to get to $100,000 a month. But let's talk about how to get to 100K a year. First of all,
Okay.
Tom, let me ask you because you're so good at this and you've had such great success with your clients, getting them there. You just took on a small group of clients a year ago or whatever. Talk about the results that little small group you had in Coaching Inc. The
Yeah.
success they
So,
had.
so we put together my trajectory on being a coach is first and foremost and most importantly, and this I'm going to NLP you guys. I'm going to ring the victory bell to do a pattern interruption so you really hear this. The number one reason why I have such a high success rate with my students is because I was a coach, Joe was a coach. Our business was not made in coaching coaches.
Yeah.
Our business was made in being a coach. And this
Yeah.
is a world of difference, guys.
Yeah.
I cannot, the personal experience and authenticity in this. If I'm going to learn from somebody, I want to learn from the person who's actually doing what I want to do, not from the person who read the books and then teaches me what to do. So, first and foremost, that's most important. But my trajectory was I started off like I started off like I do all of my other stuff. I do it's OBO. It's first one-on-one. I had 100% success rate with all of my one-on-one
Wait a
coaches.
second.
Yeah.
100% success rate. How many did you have?
So my one-on-one students include some of the biggest coaches out there, and you guys already have heard a lot of them. So you've heard a lot of their names. It includes people like Brent Daniels and other people who came up, and I coached them one-on-one. So every person who paid me a significant amount of money at that time, my one-on-one was 100%. They all
Yeah.
went on to
Yeah.
make more. And I wanted to find because this is something that I want to be clear about. Not all of them are multimillionaires, right? Not all of them went on to become multimillionaires, but they all made more money than I charged them. And I charged those people a significant amount of money,
You
all of
did.
them.
You did.
So that was first. Then I said, I wonder, let's put this into just like my coaching business. Let's now move on to what I call a beta group. So it starts off with one-on-one, then it goes to a beta group. We'll talk about this trajectory and how you should do it in your business when Joe and I are at the Coach Marketing Workshop. But then I went on to a beta group. So I took 14 people. Almost all of them had no product. They were just experts in their field, right? But they had no product, no audience for the most part. And I took those 14 people. They all went on to do their first deal and start a coaching business, which was phenomenal. So that was 100% success rate, which is unbelievable. And by the way, unheard of. I mean, I have coaches.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing, which is so key. I have coaches when I started a decade ago, and I took their How to Coach workshop. To this day, Darren Bentley just sent me this. One of them is still using my testimonial, which this guy, I just said he was a good guy, but he kind of twisted this thing. And he still uses my testimonial to this day,
I know
which
who
is
you're
fine.
talking about.
I'm not going to say a word.
And
but
what would you guess his success rate is?
Oh, it's absolute. I think that if you look at any coach who coaches who never had a coaching business besides coaching coaches, their success rate is always going to be lower because there is nuance and there are subtle things that you and I do as real in the trenches coaches who built a scalable business that has done millions and millions and millions of dollars. And there are things that you and I do, we just do them differently.
Yeah.
So, and I'll give you a perfect example because this is something that everyone listening who is interested in starting a coaching, consulting, mentoring, or agency business can relate to. When you listen to the coaches who coach coaches that never had a coaching business, the number one thing they're always going to teach you is some sort of a marketing trick. That's what their focus is because that they're focused on marketing. The problem is what comes before marketing is messaging. Marketing is only an amplification of your message. So if you don't understand some of the basic principles of messaging, for instance, let's talk, Joe. Can we just dive right in on how to make $100K a year? Because we can get right into the meat.
Yeah. Let's see. I just wanted to emphasize this track record of success that you've had coaching these people already. And you just said it briefly, but these have to be experts in their field. These have to be legit people who are already good at what they do and they care about people. It's not just about the money, but the money's nice. So if you are an expert at something, it could be real estate, it could be selling insurance, you can now coach other people and help other people to do that as well. So that's the point of this podcast. What's the fastest way, Tom, to get to $100K a year selling your knowledge, your experience, your expertise?
So in my estimation, this is the key. This is what is critical if you want to start making over six figures a year at least as a coach, consultant, or agency. You first of all, before you do anything, you have to dial in your messaging. So your first goal, you say, okay, like what is my first objective? I want to get to 100K in a year. What is my very first thing, right? Let's just call it $10,000 a month. The first rule is you've got to get 10 to 20K a month as fast as possible with just hard work and not spending a penny. This is one of the other keys that you see with the trajectory of successful coaches is some people use the term bootstrapping. I don't like that term. I like the term income funded, right? So what they do is they go out and through hard work and grit and perseverance, they dial in their messaging. They see what attracts people to get them to raise their hand. And I'm going to talk about how to do that in 1 second. And then what they do is they start generating $10,000 to $20,000 a month right out of the gate. And you can do that so quickly. I mean, literally, Joe, I have a student who just started with me. I don't want to say who he is, but he is phenomenal. And in less than 24 hours, and I will, if you want, I'll send you the picture of the text so that you can add that to whatever you do with this. He did a close to $30,000 student, and then had a $25,000 student who he was like on the fence. He said, "I'm probably going to close that person too." So that's 55. That's 30,000 collected, possibly 55,000. That was in less than 24 hours of our first conversation,
Yeah.
which is phenomenal.
That's
So
awesome.
the first thing that you do is before you spend a penny, you start making $10,000 to $20,000 a month. Let's talk about how do you do that. First, you have to create a message that is perfectly clear to everybody. Let me give you a few of the tools and tricks to do that. Number one, your biggest chance of creating a message is to start at what we call the top of the funnel. What that means is if you say like, I'm going to teach you how to make money doing your first real estate deal, whatever it is, landlording, sub-2, wholesaling, creative financing, blah, 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 arbitrage, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, or some biz op opportunity or whatever it is. Always begin with the beginner. The reason that you begin with the beginner is because what every other coach knows out there who's gone on to create a sellable, scalable, cash cow coaching business understands is that all of the money, all of the opportunity, all of the people you can help, they all live at the top of the funnel. When you say, I'm going to start with the beginner, the person who says, I want to get started solving this problem of income or health or fitness or whatever, and I don't know where to start, you're talking about 35 million people at that funnel. As soon as you say, I want to go to the people who've already done a deal, your funnel goes like this. And you're talking about 3,500 people that a ton of people are competing for to get. So just like Tony Robbins, Dan Merrill from Fortune Builders, Bigger Pockets, Brandon, right, and Josh, Jim Rohn, Pat Flynn, Amy Porterfield, Jeff Walker, on and on and on, Dave Ramsey. The whole trick to this is start with the top of the funnel. Yeah. When you start with the top of the funnel, you could still do upsells for expensive coaching to bigger players, but you've got to start with, and here's the key to your messaging. The key to your messaging is you have to create a message that when people hear it, they either turn you up or they turn you off. That is the key to getting to 100K right away, which is when people hear your message, just think about all the great men and women of consequence alive today and in the past, right? Every single one without exception had a message that said, I don't like this guy. I don't trust him. I don't want what he has. I don't like him. Somebody change the channel. Get this guy off the air. And the people and the other group will say, oh, I like this girl. She has exactly what I want. I'm a single mom with 2 kids too, and I've been trying to make a side hustle income or do my first deal or solve this problem or so they say, everyone, shh, be quiet, be quiet. Turn this up. I can't hear what he's saying or what she's saying. So the reason that you're not doing that is because you have a fear of missing out. And what your fear is, you say, well, I can help you, but I can also help you and you and you and you. And when you can help everyone, the problem is no one even hears your message. Yeah. You've got to be Robert Kiyosaki. Debt is good. Your house is not an asset. Leverage debt, other people's money. Or you have to be Dave Ramsey. Debt is bad. Cut up your credit card, stupid, right? You've got to pick one or the other. So the first thing to solve before you do anything else is start cutting out who is going to like your message. You want to, right? What does Alex Hormozy say in his books? Don't make me niche slap you, right? So you've got to get you got to get your messaging super dialed in so that, because when it's dialed in, the first thing it does is it breaks through that barrier of all that noise so that people can actually hear you. That's the first most important thing to do.
That's so important. And I was thinking about this with what you're saying. I like to call it the 5 1s, the 5 1 things, right? Okay. Number 1, you need to know who your one customer is.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
You need to have one, and you're solving one problem. Okay.
That's good.
And you only have one solution. Okay. And then you have one, I don't know what to call it yet, but maybe like a one conversion thing. That might be watch a webinar, or it might be get on the phone, like a Oh, I remember. I have
One
another
call to
one.
action.
Yeah, like a one. Yeah, one call to action. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
One source of traffic. Like that's Facebook or Instagram. It's not Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcast, all of this stuff. You pick one traffic channel, right?
100%.
1 year. Oh, that. If guys, if you just did that, you'd make $1 million.
Hey, I
Right?
like your notebook. I like your
Oh,
notebook.
guess who sent these to me?
Bam!
Just don't send me any shirts, please.
You got it.
Don't send me any
So
shirts.
good.
Okay, so
That's
can I
phenomenal.
repeat that? One
Let's do it.
customer, one problem,
Product.
one solution to their problem, one call to action, one source of traffic for 1 year.
Yeah.
That's 6 things. 6 one things. Is that good? I like that.
Well, sometimes guys, because you have two guys on this podcast who have had some success, some measure of success. And sometimes it's hard to see the little things that the successful people are doing. But if you are thinking about this and you're hearing it and you're saying, oh yeah, maybe Joe's right, maybe he's not right. Here's what I would challenge you to do. Whenever you hear a piece of information like what Joe just shared, go out and ask people who are struggling what they're doing. And here is what you will hear. The exact opposite of that, right? So what you'll hear is you'll say, like, for instance, if you talk to a new real estate investor and they're struggling or they have roller coaster income and you say, well, how are you finding your deals? Every single time, 100% of the time, this is what they'll say. Well, I spoke to some real estate agents and I also did some cold calling. I put out some bandit signs. I also did some direct mail and I also put up a billboard. When you talk to somebody who's making $100K per month, this is what they say. I do this one traffic channel. I totally dominate it in my market. I know what time, what color, what font, when to send it, who to send it to, how many times a week to send it. I know my exact conversion ratio. I know they become almost what's called prophetic, meaning they could determine what's going to happen in the future on their income because they know their channel so well. So when Joe is saying one CTA, one traffic, and here's the reason why this is a successful recipe with these ingredients. This is the reason. Because if you pick the wrong channel, if you pick the wrong message, because you're so focused on one thing, just like Gary Keller, the one thing, like Scott Alexander, focus on charge at one thing, like Daniel Lappin, right? The pumpkin plan, right? One pumpkin cut off the other pumpkins. Mike McCallowitz, Daniel Lappin, specialization. Every single successful man and woman before us has said this. When you do that, if you're messing up, you will, this is something, it's a principle I follow, which is 10 weeks, not 10 months. You will know in 10 weeks if you've made a bad decision and what's not working, as opposed to somebody who's doing a lot of little things. Yeah. They don't find out in 10 months. And in that 10 months, that's a killer. That's death so by 1,000 needles.
Yeah, that's such good advice, man.
It came from you. There you go.
Well, it's simplicity, right? It's simplicity because people want a solution from you. They don't want 10 different solutions, right? When I've created courses in the past, the ones that did the worst, where I had the worst success, is when I gave students too many options, too many different things to do. And I thought I was over-delivering on the value. I thought that's what they wanted. I thought they wanted a thick course with hundreds of hours of videos on it. I thought they wanted 5 different ways to find sellers and 3 different kinds of offers that you can make. And what happened? They got overwhelmed. They quit. They're like, this is too hard.
The reason is too, because guys, we as coaches, as mentors, as consultants, we are not, you don't have to solve an information problem. There's nothing that people are going to learn from you that they can't pick up on YouTube for free in 3 seconds. So what are you actually doing as a coach? You're providing clarity, results, permission. You're an advocate. You're an advisor to these people. You are giving them permission and confidence to take uncomfortable action in a sequential way. That's what you provide as a coach. So don't try to solve an information. Nobody's paying you for information. That's not the key to coaching here. So I love it. So yeah, I would say, Joe, to answer your question, the first thing that you have to do is you really have to you have to get your message. And of course, in the workshop, we're going to really deep dive this, but you've got to get your messaging dialed in 110%. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, we did this exercise last workshop where we put people on a hot seat and we had them was really drill down on who their customer was and what their problem was. And it
I
was
remember.
amazing to me. And I get it. It's hard when you've got entrepreneur ADD, right? It's like this definition of an entrepreneur is find something that works and stop doing it and doing something else, right?
Right.
So
Right.
when you've got a room full of entrepreneurs and you're like, all right, who's your customer? Well, it's so and so and so and so and so and so. Okay, no, just pick one. Okay, so and so. Right. It's so hard to do that. And then, what is their problem? And sometimes, like that's the hardest part, but it's the most important, isn't it? Understanding
Well,
what your customers' problems are.
and I think, it's interesting. One of the things to look for, because Joe and I noticed this at the last conference, is whenever you have an entrepreneur who's struggling, they're not getting to, at least $10,000 to $20,000 per month. What you will hear them do, if you listen very, very carefully, is when you ask them what they do or who they do it for, they'll always gloss over when they add a second group. They'll say, well, this is 100% just for beginners and people who did their first deal. And it's like, wait, what did you just say? So they'll kind of gloss over it really quickly. But again, it's because they want to speak to everyone because they feel like if they don't, they're missing out. But the reality is, the truth is that when you do that, you are, guys, let me tell you about a simple little, and you could take this right to the bank. This is so true. You should always remember this. First of all, one person, and just remember which one it is, which is the beginner. When you speak to the beginner, you attract the beginner and you attract the professional.
Mm-hmm.
When you speak to the professional, you attract the professional and you repel the beginner. So I'm going to tell you that if you want to dial in your messaging, there should be a lot of people who say it's not for me, niche down, and it should always be the people who are wanting to come towards you. It's going to be that. So
Yeah, you brought up Dave Ramsey, and it's so good. I like the polarizing thing that you got to stand for. It's just like your shirt, like people are either going to love you, Tom, for your shirt, or they're going to be like, no, my bald head. They're going to be like, I love Joe's bald head. I wish I had a bald head like his. Or
right.
What an ugly dork. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but like you got to stand for something, or you'll fall for anything, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So I think
you got to get that fence.
Yeah, you got to be. Oh yeah, I was going to say Dave Ramsey. One of the things that, whether you like him or not, what's his one thing? It's getting out of debt, being debt free. That's his one thing, right? And he's built a multiple hundreds of millions of dollars a year business based on these 6 little baby steps, right? He doesn't teach people how to get rich in real estate. He could. I don't think he'd do as well because it's not the biggest part of the funnel. All right, Tom, we got just 5 more minutes.
Okay.
You're sitting down with somebody who wants to get to 10 grand a month, 100 grand a year. Doing coaching. What are the first 1 or 2 things that you're going to have them do once they figure out who their customer is and the one problem they're trying to solve? How do they get the attention? How do they get people to find out about them?
Yeah. So one of those people in that group that you were referring to, the beta group of I had 14 people come. Most of them had no audience. They had they didn't have a product. And I just will say too, very quickly, this is the other tremendous, enormous, show-stopping mistake that a lot of new coaches and consultants make, and agency owners. Especially agency owners tend to make this one even the most. What they do is they follow what I call the BS method. And the BS method is, I'm going to build it and then I'm going to sell it. This is a big mistake.
Yes.
Every coach who's worth their weight in salt will tell you, if you look at their trajectory, including Dave Ramsey, if you look at how Dave Ramsey started, first you sell it, then you build it. And the secret is, when you sell it first, guess who's building it? Not you. The students are building it through their questions, through their inquiry, through their confusion. What you do when you sell and then you build, you're putting helping first. You're being a generous expert. You have accomplished something, and the course is being built in a wholesome, organic way through getting Johnny, Sally, and Bobby to their first deal. Whereas when you build a course first and you go into a studio and you start recording modules and you don't have a single student and you're just worried about are we doing a closed captioning font on the bottom of the screen and the lighting? And when you do it that way, you're wasting time, you're delaying revenue. One of my first rules in business is revenue in first. That is my first rule in business, is revenue in first position, because you can't help anybody if you don't have revenue. So before we even talk about getting to 100K per year, let's talk about getting to 100K per year, right? Meaning, like, let's not waste a whole bunch of time. And this is especially true for people, because a lot of the people that Joe and I coach are already multimillionaires, and that's awesome. But money is not going to solve this problem. Don't follow the BS method where you build and then try to get frustrated selling and figure out like a marketing funnel tunnel webinar, seminar, whatever. So sell it first and then let your students build it. And that will get you to 100K way faster. The other thing I would say is, if you want to, there is absolutely no way around this. You have to put yourself out there as a coach. You have to start talking about what you do and who you do it for. So very quickly, because I know we only have about 2 minutes left here, what I will say is, there's 8 methodologies that I follow to do this. There's 8 steps or 8 different things that you do. They're all very sequential. They're very simple to do. Anybody can do them. But one of those things is going to be like picking a social media platform and starting to go live. This is something that Joe and I both know. Ray, he came into my 14-person challenge, my beta group. This kid did over $100,000. He had no product, no audience. He was talking about doing something with cars, and then he went to land. I am telling you, this is super. Now, he had extraordinary results, and not everyone's going to have those results right out of the gate, especially. He did. Don't quote me on this. I don't want to say specifically, but I know it was like 6 figures in like 7 weeks. It was huge. Yeah. So, but don't quote me on that. It's right around there somewhere. But here's what I'm going to say. The reason he did it is because he followed a very simple trajectory of how to kickstart a coaching business the right way. Because I'm telling you guys, I have so many examples of people who Joe and I both know, very successful in their area of real estate or whatever it is. They'll come into coaching and it totally falls flat because they start building something. They don't have their messaging dialed in. And it doesn't work that way. So you got to put yourself out there. And Joe and I use there's 8 little tricks that you can do. It takes about an hour a day to get started. And that is going to get you to 10 to 20. And one other quick thing. I know we're out of time.
Good.
I just want to say one thing. Guys, let me tell you this. If you are specifically in real estate is tough. A lot of people call it a business. I don't know about that. I know some of the most successful real estate people. I would say they're like, it's a little bit different. I don't know if it's quite a business on the investor side, which is why SBA won't give a loan to buy a business in real estate, right? So great place to put your money, great place to make a lot of money, great place to invest your money, right? But when it comes to business, coaching is a business. That means it's very easy to build it, to sell it, to build it, to scale it, where you can create this cash cow. So I just would encourage you that when you're going through this process, just be cognizant of that, specifically if you're in real estate, because there is some difference. Oh, and that's what I wanted to say too, to that point. When you get to 10 to 20K per month, you can then hire the people. Anyone listening to this podcast, I would not hire any of you to be my executive assistant, my marketing person, my salesperson. So as soon as you make 10 to 20K per month and you do that for a month or two, then we just hire the people and we replace you and we drive a wedge between you and the business. You don't have to do that stuff. You don't have to start, editing a podcast or I don't know, whatever, right? Like, there are people that you hire to do that stuff. So the whole trick here is we want you to get to 10 to 20K per month as fast as possible. We want to then codify what you're doing and bring in a team to replace you, because you can afford those team members when you're at 10 to 20K per month.
Yeah, one step at a time. We got to go because we've got some phone calls to make and business to do and money to make.
Oh, yes. I have a 10 o'clock call. I'm late.
Okay. CoachMarketingWorkshop.com. CoachMarketingWorkshop.com. We'll do some more about this stuff, but we look forward to seeing you in Orlando. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tom.
Looking forward to it, guys. See you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
All right.